much. Namaste, everyone. I hope you're all safe. Thank you, Neeraj. Thank you, Team Belong, for inviting me to this. And Neeraj, that was a very long introduction. You only forgot to say which school I went to. You said everything else. But thank you for those kind words. And I'm very happy and honored to be here, to be invited to launch such a marvelous initiative. So I just go into my speech because I thought I should write a proper speech because this is important. So here we are. Namaste, everyone. And this Belong vision for inclusion and diversity through, apart from your other work, a network of public libraries is welcome and timely. We need to find spaces and tools for people and communities to be able to explore beyond their narrow horizons. And we need to allow people the luxury of moving beyond blind certainty through blurry doubt to emerge into the dazzling sunshine of knowing with humility that there is always more to learn. And a well stocked library can enable just that. Libraries for me promote something that is very important and very close to my heart, reading. My entire childhood, like I'm sure many of yours was spent between the pages of books, and I would lose myself in make believe worlds with incredible characters, so different from me, but with whom I could still identify because something in their aspirations or their adventures felt strangely familiar. We didn't have TV then, we didn't have the internet, mobile phones, nothing. So books were my first glimpse of a larger world. And to a young person, there is such a thrill in finding a bigger, wonderful universe exists outside your small space. Books and stories allowed me to indulge my imagination and satisfy a deep curiosity that is, of course, native to all children. And even today, I can find a book that I will simply not put down. And this involved nature of reading, I believe, makes books and stories a powerful tool for shaping the mind. For this reason, it is important that children and later adults have access to a diversity of books. When children read different kinds of books, they can go beyond these binaries of black and white and learn to occupy the rich hues of gray that actually describe all our lives. And these nuances help children to be sensitive, to be empathetic, and to use critical thinking as adults. But sadly, today, even now, in spite of the advances made in the last 15 years, many children are still growing up without a proper access to books. In India, there is still only one book for every 5 children in urban India and one for every 10 in rural India. Whereas in countries like the UK, they'll have 6 or more books per child. And in a country where we have 22 constitutional languages and 150 million people speaking in hundreds of other languages, most of our books in only 2 languages, English and Hindi. This was the problem that some of us decided to tackle way back in 2004, as by now many of you already know. Through the Pratham Network, we had created so many readers who had nothing to read that we felt that we had to do something. And so we co-founded Pratham Books with the mission of a book in every child's hand. We wanted to democratize the joy of reading that so many of us had experienced ourselves. We wanted children from every corner of India to get good books in their own languages that were affordable, attractive, inspiring. Books that told the stories of characters that were culturally approachable for them, but also books that introduced children to the wild diversity of India. Stories of people who live differently, and now I can even say love differently, and who think differently from themselves. So there was no one else at the time producing enough of such content, and we became publishers ourselves, hardly knowing how to spell the word publish. We learned the nuts and bolts from scratch. It was quite an adventure. Soon we had dozens of books for young children, all simultaneously printed in up to 12 languages, and that was the real breakthrough we were able to make. And because we were a non-profit, we could afford to subsidize the books, but we hope that that will also create new opportunities for the entire publishing industry for children in India. And because we were unafraid, we could try things that nobody had done before. And fortunately, as we all know now, we succeeded in quickly becoming India's largest children's publisher, innovating various new models. We inched closer to our goals in 2008 when we put all our books online under the open sources Creative Commons license. And suddenly, lots of books in many languages became available to parents, children, and teachers, completely free. And it created a whole ecosystem, unleashed a lot of illustrators, writers, editors, translators from every nook and cranny of the country. Today, the leadership team after I left Pratham Books has actually done much better, taken the digital idea much further. And today, Story Weaver is an important resource, which I hope it will be for the Belong Library Network as well, where incredibly diverse books in hundreds of languages are available to children and the children and every adult, free, anywhere, anytime at the click of a button. But when it comes to digital, there's often this tension, concern with among book lovers, academics, researchers, that our beloved bookstores or libraries will become a thing of the past. I don't think that's so, and today's inaugural just confirms that belief. And research surveys show that we should not worry too much about children or readers accessing digital material. While we should attempt always to bring physical books to children and to people, some recent research is showing that children who were able to access both digital and physical books were able to sustain their reading habit much better. So, uh, increasing access to books through online mediums does tend to create more readers, which is good for everybody, writers, booksellers, publishers, whatever. Yet, of course, we all know we have to be vigilant about screen time for all of us. We must not lose what Marianne Wolf, and this is important if you're going to set up a library network, we must not lose what she describes as our deep reading brain, which has evolved over millennia to help us decode, reconstruct meaning, and stay with something. To this end, libraries do play a very, very vital role. And in my work, both with Pratham Books and Akshara Foundation, we invested a lot of creative time in activating classroom libraries for children and some in the community as well much later. And through the Donate a Book program, for example, at Pratham Books, classrooms received small portable bookshelves in this kind of really nice hangable shelf, in which we could put books and children could just, and it was kept at a low level, so children could take them, borrow them, read them, and put them back. And a corner of the classroom became a library. Similarly, Akshara's The Classroom Library Initiative provided classrooms with foldable bookcases, each holding 122 age-appropriate graded books in multiple languages, also English. And the number of books borrowed was recorded, the reading level was recorded, and in a way, this hard infrastructure of physical books forged the soft infrastructure for education in the classroom. Now, we all agree that this infrastructure is needed not just in schools, but also outside in society. As gateways to knowledge and culture, libraries play a fundamental role, and the resources and services they offer create opportunities to support not just literacy and education, but also to shape new ideas and perspectives that are central to a creative thinking and innovative society. It is then very sad that in a country with such a rich culture as ours, we have so few libraries. As per the 2011 census, there's only one rural library for 11,500 people, one urban library for 80,000 people. Moreover, there is no precise information on the functionality and the level of service capabilities of these libraries. Per capita expenditure on the development of public libraries is 7 paisa. Contrast this with a country like the US, where the public library system provides services to 95.6% of the total population, and they spend $35.96 per capita annually. Excuse me. Personally, I'm using this opportunity to acknowledge my tremendous gratitude and a huge personal debt to the public library system of the USA. From 1982, right after I got married, to 1989, my husband and I used to travel to America because Infosys at that time used to do a lot of on-site software projects. And I spent all those 7 years in different cities with really not much money to sustain us. What sustained me was the free public library system that came to my rescue, especially in the cold, dark winters where you couldn't do much else, whether I was in Kenosha, Wisconsin, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Skokie, Illinois, or Union City, New Jersey. I was truly taken aback by the quality and quantity of the offerings there. Though the local library, of course, would depend, it would depend on the local funding. I would spend hours there and bring back stacks and stacks of books on politics, economics, the sciences, and the arts. In fact, I filled in as fast as I could the serious gaps in my college education at Elphinstone College, Mumbai, where unfortunately I goofed off a lot in the corridors and the canteens. But in some ways, I believe that my support for Pratham Books Akshara Foundation and other educational initiatives like Ekstep is my effort to repay a part of this huge debt I have to the marvelous public system libraries of the USA. The important footnote here is that funding for libraries in many Western countries is primarily local. In the US and Europe, 80% of funding comes from local councils rather than national funds. This is really something for us to think about in this country, especially in urban India. Of India's 29 states and 7 union territories, 19 states have passed state library legislation, but only 5 of them have the provision of a library cess or levy. Even when there is a cess leveled, it may not reach the library system at all. I remember in Janagraha, we did a public citizen budgeting exercise, which we called Proof. And we realized as we did the research that the municipality of Bangalore owes lakhs and lakhs of rupees to the public library system, but which nobody knew how to extract. So in this dysfunctionality, efforts like Belong have a really valuable role to play to just enhance the public culture of supporting libraries. Decentralized initiatives are terribly important, not just from a resourcing perspective, but because libraries are not just storehouses for books. We all know they're spaces to gather, to build community around, where people can create a common vision for the kind of society they want to build. And this works best in context at the local level. And this obviously helps in advancing inclusion. It helps hopefully in reducing the terrible polarization that we are witnessing and to strengthen democratic processes. I do have a word of caution before I end. Belong itself, when it says it is devoted to inclusion and diversity, should not itself become a silo or an island. These ideas have to be mainstreamed, not kept separate on a shining hill. So, Belong, the library network, and all the other work you do should hopefully be folded into a larger, growing, evolving philosophy and practice of making our societies the best they can be and not without leaving people behind. So let people belong to a larger sense of ourselves. Let belong bridge the divides and not remain in an in group, however high minded. With that caution, I'm terribly happy that Belong is so committed to creating these local networks, is using really the moral imperatives, which are also the strategic importance of our modern times. And I wish the team all the very best in these efforts. May we all gather more, may we all read more, may we all see each other more, may we discuss, may we share, and may we create belonging to ever widening circles of Samaj. Namaste and thank you.